Welcome to episode 4 of Community Solutions Minnesota Radio Podcast. We're excited to be here. I just want to say something first. This new music you hear in the background, oh, this is good stuff. I tell you what, this is a local band called Trout. I just happened to play them, so I'm going to pump this a little bit.
Yeah, no self-promoting on this program, right?
Anyways, hope you like that. And I am Jason Bradley, and over to my right hand, as usual,
Andrew Richter. Always a pleasure to be in my presence, isn't it, Jason?
well, I'm sure the feeling's mutual.
Of course it is.
Today we are talking budgets.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's that time of year where cities just figured out what they were doing, and now we've just figured out what they're doing, and none of us are very happy. Well, the cities are probably fairly happy. They didn't get to spend as much as they wanted.
Well,
but
I can tell you this much, my friends, and because we care about our audience here at Community Solutions Minnesota, we've got to set out a little warning here that this show will not make you happy. You will be angry at this program. I mean, when you listen to the details of what the local cities around here, Crystal, New Hope, Robbinsdale, Golden Valley, are doing with your money, when you listen to what the excuses they've given in the past, the things that the legislature said would happen if we did X, and Y has happened instead, you're not going to be happy. And I would recommend you do whatever you have to do to relax. If you have to pull out the Jack Daniels, if you have to put on some Allman Brothers, I don't know what you do to relax, or chillax, or cool down, or chilly back, or whatever the youngins say today. You're going to need to. And you can always pause this. We are available 24/7. Okay?
that is true.
So we're your therapists here today. We might go off on a tangent or two. Jason might anyway. I never have. But so we're going to give you some details that I'm telling you are not going to make you thrilled. Are you happy with what we have to tell the folks? You and I
am not.
You and I have to tell the truth.
I'm scared. I know how I reacted when I heard this, and I'm scared because the backlash is going to be...
Just don't shoot the messenger. That's all I say. I mean, our job is to report the truth. Our job's to, our job is to call it as we see it, and that's what we've tried to do here. Mm-hmm. We've tried to be fact-oriented, and we give our 2 cents too, but it's based on factual material.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're the refs who call it as we see it, and we never make a mistake. We're not like those guys in the NFL.
There's no challenges or instant replay on this program.
That's right. Well, why don't we jump right in, because there's a lot of material to cover today. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Crystal, since it's close to home?
Yeah.
But don't worry, we're getting to Crystal, Robbinsdale, New Hope, Brooklyn Park, Golden Valley. We're not leaving any out around here.
No, it's equal opportunity budget bashing.
Yes. And if you happen to live outside of those areas, you'll find this useful because you'll understand what to look for as you're going through your city budgets. So don't think this is just a show for the people in that area, because you're going to need this to be well armed as you go and take on the people that have done this to you.
And that's very important to say, because most cities, although some of the specifics are different, most cities provide similar services. They all have a comprehensive annual financial report. They all have an EDA. They all have a city budget. They all have a levy. You're right. This is universal. I mean, what we're saying about the cities that we live in and we live by are probably the same things being said up in Warroad, for all we know. I mean, it's
right. And you touch on something important there, that what they do at the end of the year is set a budget, and they talk about their general budget, their general fund, how much they're going to pay out of it, how much they're going to bring into it, and where it comes from and where it goes. However, a comprehensive annual financial report, or CAFR, is printed in June or July.
They legally by June 30th, by the end of the biennium, they have to have it public.
Yep, and so they put that out well after everybody's already talked about their budgets, and this is where they really break stuff down. It's hundreds of pages. It's like a phone book, and and it's harder to understand than
It's Einstein's theory of relativity. I mean, it is very difficult. And you're 100% right that the budget, while it is the tax levy is the largest part of the budget, it's an incomplete picture of everything that is being spent. I mean, I'll use basically how the budget works. We're talking about cities' operating budgets.
Yes.
That's where they pay the employees. That's where the main property tax levy, local government aid, things like that, fees for licenses, permits, it all gets thrown into what's called their general fund. And what the procedure that they have to do is by September, and I think it's by mid-September, they're meeting, not Labor Day, but 2 weeks after that, they have to present what's called a preliminary budget to Hennepin County, because the county in Minnesota is your property tax collector. Even if you escrow, you send it all. Like, I personally write in my taxes, which I recommend people do because it'll get you a lot more ticked off when you have to physically write a check.
Yep.
And then what they do is they set a cap, and then they work underneath that, and the final has to be decided by the second meeting in December, right before Christmas. So they spend a lot of the summer doing that, then they hash out a lot of the details in the fall. But the things that aren't part of the budget, we'll pick on Crystal because we live there.
Yeah.
But their Economic Development Authority,
right,
which has its own levy.
Yeah.
Special assessments.
Yes.
Bonding.
Yep.
Tax increment financing, which is a variation of a bond, or all things that you will not find in your operating budget. So if you're searching for this, the search in every city will have this. In some websites, it's hard to find. You can contact the city clerk, who's the main record keeper, and they will send you the budget and the comprehensive annual financial report. So.
Now, and the good news is, though, you do get a voice. You get to come and talk to the city council in a public hearing the night that they vote on it after they put in hundreds of hours of work.
Yeah.
So
that's right. There's no asking you before they work on the budget. What would you like to pay for?
Yeah.
This year, would you like to give the city manager a raise? I was making twice your salary.
Absolutely.
You want more.
Let me sign on for that.
Yeah, it's all, and it's done that way on purpose because by state law they have to have a public hearing. But of course, they do it after the work's already been done.
Yeah.
They already did the work. And,
it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Okay. Now you get a voice. I mean, afterwards. So
yeah,
I think it's. I think the lesson learned here is that we really need to stay on top of this all year long. And we can't wait until December to come and make a stink about something, because then the council's already done their work and they're not going to go back and start over. They might tweak something, but that's pretty much, boil on somebody's buttocks. It really isn't going to change anything. So sorry for the crude analogy, but it is important that, number one, you understand the process, and number two, you understand what the differences are between the CAFR and their budget. They are two different things. So now, what we're talking about is the budget, the operating budget, the tax levy that directly impacts your home or business. And how that is done, how that is figured out is very complex. We don't have time to go in. There's 57 different property tax classifications in Minnesota. And there's a formula for every one. It's very complex. So the first lesson to understand is whether the levy goes up or down really doesn't mean your property taxes are going to go up or down.
Right.
Because what the counties do is they take a median price and they work off that to make sure government gets their money first.
Yes.
So if the average home, this is just, I'm throwing out this as a scenario, because my house has decreased in value 7 years in a row. If the average home goes down $8,000, your home goes down $5,000, you will get a property tax increase.
Yes.
If everything stays the same.
That's correct.
Because that's how the formula is done.
Yeah.
So people ask that question a lot. Why is my value going down and taxes going up? The reason is your home didn't go down as much as the median value home.
Yeah, and really, it's a matter of not how much is your home worth that doesn't drive taxes. What drive taxes is how much do they want to spend.
Yeah. And that's another problem, too. I mean, is that what a lot of them do is they figure out what they want to spend, then they figure out how they're going to get it, which is the exact opposite of how you would do any budget. I mean, if I said, well, next month I'm going to spend $4,000, and I go and give a bill to my boss, what's my boss going to say? Go find another Visa card. I'm not just because
go fly a kite with a hole in it.
Yeah. I can't levy my boss.
Yeah.
So that's again. I mean, that's another reform that has to happen. That's light years away. Do you want to get into these details? Should we start these details?
As much as I don't want to, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start in the city of Crystal, which is where we live. Now, Jason, I ran for office in Crystal.
Yes.
And I have been asked once or twice if I would have voted for this budget.
Okay.
Do you know what my answer is?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Without hesitation for 10 seconds, I would not have voted for this budget. I am, quite frankly, really disappointed in the city council. I'm flabbergasted that this passed 7-0. I'm really struggling to find anything, and I mean anything, positive to say.
The discussions most of the way through were 4-3, right? I mean, 4 and 3 against, and then they get to the vote, and it's 7-0.
Well, it's all adopt a consensus, and I think that if somebody really was against this budget, they have an obligation to vote no. It's not. There's no contest. There's no award for passing a unanimous vote, and I don't know if somebody didn't want to put up a fight here or what happened. But when I look at this, I can tell you I don't see much difference between this budget and the previous couple of years under a council I really didn't care for.
Right.
Just to give some, if you can call them highlights. I mean, highlights make it sound like there's something good. Now you tell me. I'm going to read off what Crystal did.
All right.
You tell me what's positive. You tell me where a hard choice was made.
Okay.
I would really like to hear it.
All right.
Okay.
Got you covered.
We pretty much brought back every single employee.
Okay.
Everybody got a raise. Everybody got a pat on the butt. No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing cut, nothing reformed, nothing changed. We got a 5% increase in our water bills. We're not paying enough in water to the city. We're not. I'm sure there's some nice, warm-hearted reason why. I have a feeling it has to do with this Golden Valley New Hope Crystal Water Fund group that has come up, which was supposed to be for emergencies, but they seem to be doing far more than that.
Somebody could be really thirsty. Is that an emergency?
It could be, I suppose. They could. They could
dehydrating out
that's
here.
Right. They could go to the beach or something if they're really thirsty. Crystal got a $200,000 increase, roughly, in local government aid, which is, if you don't know what that is, LGA. It is money sent, our tax dollars sent to the state of Minnesota. They put it into a formula called the Fiscal Disparities Act, which goes back to the Minnesota Miracle in 1971. And I don't want to get into all the details, but LGA is something Crystal's gotten for a long, long time. And they typically get around $1.5 million a year. And they got a $200,000 increase. And the overall levy increased 1.07%, which doesn't sound like a lot. But when you jack up our water bills, when you jack up, you get more free money.
Right.
And then you turn around and increase the property tax levy on top of that.
Yeah.
And keep in mind what they're proposing to do now, which is jack up fees and costs for beer and wine licenses.
Not just that, but all sorts of fees and licenses in the city.
Well, Appendix 4, which passed in November, not a thing was decreased, and a bunch of fees and stuff went up. So we got gouged from every way possible in this city. Now, Jason, find me a positive in all of that.
Could it be that See, well,
Yeah.
how about the 6% raise on commercial? Wait, no,
Well, that's not good.
that's not positive either.
It would be positive. I'm kind of struggling, aren't you?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, the economy has recovered, right? I mean, we're all making a lot more money now. Unemployment is like at 3%.
Yeah, I think it's like 2.7. I mean, it's just I'm bewildered by it. And one of the excuses that you're going to hear, and you can't buy this excuse, is that they're trying to get off of local government aid.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you something. This city council is going to try to blame the Kennedy assassination on local government aid if they can. Now, in theory, that's the right goal to have, to be a self-sufficient city.
Yep.
But to actually get rid of that money is going to take some real change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can't just stand here and operate a community center at a 71% loss every year,
Yeah.
a pool at a 30% loss, an entire park and rec department that's 2/3 taxpayer subsidized. We have to stop buying so much property. We have to
Yeah.
reduce the amount of employees we have.
There's a lot of waste, and I know we've said this before. I've said this before on this podcast, and people need to understand that. And this is going to sound very controversial, I'm sure, but I would rather have my local property tax rates go up and not then have to pay stuff to the state, to have the state send money wherever it chooses. Because we've said this before, where if I have $5, well, if I have $10, I send $10 to Andrew, who's the state of Minnesota, and then
I'm keeping some of it.
he's keeping $5, maybe $7, sends $3 to $5 back to Crystal. Well, I could have just sent $7 to Crystal instead of spending 10. I spend 7, and then Crystal has $7 instead of 3 to 5.
And you have 3 more.
Yeah, it works out better because you're not paying off all the administrative costs and bureaucracy that go on at the state level or the county level, and by doing that, that is being fiscally responsible as well.
Well, and I would even take it a step further that local government aid is a way for cities to
Pay for Minneapolis streetcars?
yeah. Well, and it's also it takes away local accountability because locals always have this out. And I heard this from the Crystal City Council for years. Well, they're cutting local government aid. They're cutting local government aid, so we have to increase your taxes. Well, now they add local government aid, and they still increase our taxes.
Yeah.
So what the hell's the difference? I mean, and you know, look, LGA is a thing that to me the whole system needs to go.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be tweaked. It doesn't need to be burped or pampered. It needs to go completely. And you know, I've heard this council for 10 years tell me that they're trying to get off LGA. We're trying to do that. We're taking more in LGA in 2014 than we did in 2009.
Yeah.
So where's the evidence that we're heading in that direction?
Yeah, we're not, you know, and we're getting more, we're relying more on the state, and at the same time, we're charging our residents more. And in a community like this, not every metro community is full of people on kind of like a fixed income, you know.
Yeah.
But it just so happens that the northwest suburbs are kind of in that boat, you know.
Especially the first and second ring suburbs.
Yeah.
The Crystal, Robbinsdale, Brooklyn Center, cities like that are very much. And you know, one of the things you'll hear is that they'll want to expand the tax base.
Yeah.
Gotta expand our tax base. Well, that sounds great in theory. The Crystal is a city at 6 square miles. We don't have much of a tax base to expand to. And if government is going to, every time they get 50 cents, they want to spend $1.75, you know, at some point, it's going to, at some point you can't do that anymore. At some point, it has to go in the opposite direction.
Well, the only way to grow right now is up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're planning. More high-density housing, mixed-use development. And they think that that's going to bring in more revenue. But who has to pay for that? Who has to pay for that to get done in the first place? Who pays for the city to buy the properties so that they can sell it at a loss to a developer?
Set up a TIF district, which is the same as bonding.
Yeah, we do. So we get to pay for them to redevelop an area in a way that we probably don't want them to, so that they can get more revenue from higher density housing. Why don't they just spend less to begin with and do better with what they have?
Well, because it's always easier to just punt that to next year. It's always easier to go. And I think this is part of the problem, and this is why I really would like to see cities do a biennium the way the state has to. Because when you're only looking at 1 year, okay, at some point it gets down to, well, let's just get through this year.
Yep.
Let's just push off any tough choice to next year when somebody else is on the council, or let's and the attitude has to change too. Your job as a council person is not to make sure every employee stays. Your job is not to make sure every single paper clip and piece of toilet paper is brought back for another year. I mean, to me, that's like saying, well, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to buy every single thing I bought last week.
Yeah.
I'm only going to do it for 75 more cents. Now, what tough choice did I make right there?
None.
I just decided to spend a little bit more. Doesn't that sound like what a budget does? Well, we got to maintain every service. And our services were highly rated by some city survey that 200 residents filled out. 90% of them admit they don't know what the hell the city does. That will be cited just over and over. It's not a broken record. It's a broken Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, it's just hard to listen to.
Yeah, that's like putting a rap artist in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame right there. That's what that is.
Man, know what I'm saying? I eat. Yeah. See, I can rap.
That's not rock and roll.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
I could say country or anything else, but you
got to play, and you got to play instrumentation too to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
No running around dancing or choreography stuff. Yeah. No New Kids on the Block in the Hall of Fame.
Right. We can't have that.
Yeah.
So, as you can see, I mean, there's a lot to be not very happy about. I mean, we're spending what? Well, the general fund is $87,000 higher in 2014.
Right, and here's the thing: you might say, "Well, that's not very much money." Well, then why couldn't we have an $87,000 cut if that's not a lot of money?
Yeah.
I mean, look at it like that. Why can't we? Why can't it ever go down a little bit?
Right.
It's just it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. And I'll tell you something else. One thing that really drives me bonkers about cities is I think, and some people would disagree with me on this, I think they have an obligation they have to look at the whole picture of what a person is paying. For example, we are facing $2.7 billion in state tax increases.
Yep.
This health insurance stuff is just an absolute disaster. Mm-hmm. We're facing, we're facing a school referendum probably coming up in 2014. I mean, I know myself personally, I'm facing a special assessment coming the spring of 2015. I mean, it's like, okay, don't you see what's happening here?
And I know Hennepin County is going to come for more money too. I mean, the CTIB, County Transit Improvement Board, just approved $26 million for Bottineau, and the Hennepin County Railroad Authority just gave $18 million to Bottineau. So, and those aren't their only projects. No, they're trying to work on Southwest right now.
And remember the CTIB, those 5 counties. You're paying that no matter what. You and I are paying for, a gateway study.
Yes.
Out in Woodbury, even though we'll never use that. We're never anywhere near it.
No.
So we're paying all kinds of stuff on top. I mean, it really is amazing. It's never ending. The city council is just doing anything but cutting spending. Anything but something hard to do. And I'll tell you one thing they really need to do. Boy, I'm going to make people angry when I say this, especially some city employees. But we have got to contract out financing. It is really difficult for me to believe that a city employee and I'm not ripping on Charlie Hanson, our finance guy. I'm not saying he does a bad job, nothing. But do you think he's going to propose a budget that lays 10 of his coworkers off?
No.
Not a prayer.
No.
Okay, from
he'd
his
be the least...
right. From his perspective, his idea is to find a way to keep everybody and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't an outside person coming in at a for-profit company...
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I were going to turn a business around in real life,
Yes.
I wouldn't hire somebody from that business. I'd take somebody else and say, tell me what I should do.
Yep. Because, I mean, the guy that wants to be the least popular guy in the office, you don't find it. You know, you've got to bring somebody in from the outside.
So, I mean, that's going to be a tough change. And maybe that's something you do by attrition. But I think as long as it's done the way it's done, you're just you're not going to see any real. And I'll tell you another thing that worries me: County 81 debt service. You know, the thing we tried to do a petition against.
Yeah.
This is the last year we have to pay that.
Okay.
2014. That $500,000, $563,000.
Yeah. What's
going to happen to that money next year? Do you think we're going to get any of it?
Well, they're going to stop collecting it, right?
Oh, well, as far as I know. I mean, that's a good joke.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not supposed to pay it next year.
Yeah.
So if we got $563,153, explain to me where that money is going to go. What do you want to bet it's spent? And local government aid is the excuse. Well, we're trying to get off LGA. You're not going to notice a difference there, Bradley. So we're going to just, we're going to just keep it.
We got a plan for this light rail station.
Oh, there's a million things. We got to upgrade our Facebook page. I mean, what are you talking about? We can't give that back to you.
That's like a joke in advance. There,
just wait for that.
You think we're kidding?
So that's another little gift. Well, enough with Crystal. I mean, just disappointed. PU, I don't know what to say about it. I'm just really disappointed, and I don't understand what the excuse is for this.
All right. Well, why don't we go next door then? Visit the city of New Hope. I know. It's like pick your poison or Russian roulette or something like that. It doesn't matter which city I pick. It's
That's
all
true.
bad.
New Hope. No city screwed up more one-car parades than New Hope. Now, you want some details on New Hope, Jason? Are you interested in hearing them? I didn't think so, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in 2013, New Hope got $32,000 in local government aid. Pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
To a city. I mean, to the cities, that falls out of their pocket when they walk down the street. In 2014, they're projected to get $533,000. Now, let me ask you a question. How much of that do you think is going to go back to the taxpayers of the city of New Hope?
About 500,000.
No, you're
minus
off,
500,000.
You're off by about 500,000. So they're getting $500,000.
A goose egg, and not even a real goose egg.
Yeah, no. Actually, they're getting a negative.
Yeah.
It's like a goose egg that was cracked open and spilled everywhere. That's basically what they're getting. Yet, despite that, the New Hope City Council is increasing the levy 1.54%. Total spending in the general fund budget up $690,847 of more spending.
Yeah, that's just the increase.
That's just the increase. A 5% increase in our water bills. Where did we hear that before?
Wow. Yeah,
What city
Crystal.
was that?
Yeah.
I mean,
but not to just so you don't think, hey, this is Hennepin County or Minneapolis, where we get our water from, is raising it 5%. How much were they considering raising
they
it?
were considering raising it 8%.
Yeah.
So, in the New Hope City Council's mind, which would know a good idea if it ran them over, that's a 3% cut. But that's what they'll try to claim.
Yeah.
I mean, their city manager tried to claim that at their budget hearing. Well, we wanted 8%, but we only did 5% increase.
Yeah.
So we lowered that. Oh, thanks a lot there.
Yeah. Well, the budget is $11,458,892, and that's a lot of money when you think of a city of about 23,000 people, and maybe half of those are taxpayer age, right? And half of those are under.
Something like that. I mean, kids don't pay taxes. Renters pay them indirectly. Yeah. They pay them through the rent, but indirectly. Commercial, and then when you add to it, a lot of people who have businesses, they don't live in the city where their business is.
Yeah.
So they really don't have a voice because they can't vote in or out the people. If I live in Crystal and have a business in New Hope, I'm paying New Hope property taxes, but I can't vote in New Hope.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a, how many taxpayers there are is.
Yeah, and it's difficult because you're paying taxes without representation, which is it happens more often than you think. Absolutely,
and
it does.
Like Benjamin Franklin once said, taxes with representation isn't so great either.
No.
Now, I want to get back to LGA here in New Hope. So we got a 5% increase they got a 5% increase in their water bills. However, they're taking about $350,000 and throwing it into their water fund. So you're getting hit twice here. Now, are they building a new water tower? Are we building an ocean? I mean, what's going on that requires one thing in New Hope? You did one lousy job of explaining this.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't have anybody. You don't have anybody who could articulate 1 + 1 that could explain this.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, and that's probably a lot of the problem is that nobody explained this. I've heard some talk about Crystal and New Hope looking to go to their own water table because we have a really good water table here and we use Minneapolis water. But I haven't heard any tell of that going any further than just talk at this moment. And so why would you squirrel away money based on that? But with the amount of money that they're putting away, it doesn't seem to me like it's just operating costs.
Well, there's no way your operating costs can go up that much. And I'm with you. I've heard nothing but a bunch of blah, blah, blah about it. And for all I know, it's just some sort of, BS maybe to justify the higher spending. To keep going, but here's another thing. Listen to this.
Yeah.
The state of Minnesota passed a law exempting local governments from paying sales taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the law is complex. The state of Minnesota, they can't do something simple. They can't do something universal.
Right.
It has to be except for this, except for that. The lobbyists and the lawyers and all that jump all over the legislature to exempt this and so on and so forth. New Hope is estimating, and I don't even understand it completely, but there's some purchases like our fire department, shared services are not exempt. So two cities decide to cut costs and share services, and they still have to pay sales tax. But if you don't do that, then you don't pay sales tax. Just showing you how. And I think it's a good thing. I mean, why charge sales tax when it's the government paying for it? It doesn't make sense anyway.
Right.
But it's just, again, it's typical Minnesota legislature. Now, New Hope's projecting to save $54,000 this year, but with that sales tax exemption, where's that money going? I mean, it's just getting eaten up by somebody's pension or something.
And that's where a lot of it goes that you can't account for.
It just goes in the pockets of employees. How do you like this one? New Hope City Manager.
I don't like the New Hope City Manager. I mean, not personally.
Makes what, about $35,000 a year? 40? 42?
Times 3?
Yeah. Got a 5% increase for the third consecutive year. Now just think about that for a second, folks. 15% more money he's making in the past 3 years. And you think to yourself, if you've gotten a third of that in the last 5 years.
No.
But, government, they live on their own little world.
Right. I don't understand how a city who can't manage their way out of a paper bag can give a manager.
But you know,
Figures,
New Hope's very good at giving themselves awards
Yeah.
for doing things.
Well, this is true.
They get awards all the time for their great management that I think they give to themselves. Some more highlights here. We add a assistant community development director. Yet another government employee.
Another assistant.
Another assistant. Community development director is already making $100,000. Now we're going to give them an assistant. And you're going to hire 2 more police officers. And of course, those officers are going to focus on traffic enforcement.
Of course.
So look for New Hope to write more tickets for parking and for fences being too high and that kind of stuff. See, and that'll bring in revenue.
Absolutely.
So doesn't that make you feel safe?
Makes me feel safe and generous
That's
as a New Hope resident, if I were one,
Yeah.
to be able to give that kind of money. Just, there's money everywhere, under every shrub,
That's right.
every fence.
You're creating
So,
jobs.
yeah.
I mean, we're saving it, Jen. Remember, it's saved or created.
Right.
What else do we have here? This is my favorite.
Yeah.
The computer replacement schedule.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You want to read that? I don't want to read it. Do you want to read it? You go ahead.
Well, the budget places a renewed emphasis on the city's technological capabilities, including reverting back to a 4-year computer replacement schedule.
So in other words, if after 4 years we have a computer that's working fine, we're
Yeah.
going to replace it because and that's the way cities do things. The chairs we're sitting on
Yeah.
could be scheduled to be replaced, and they're just replaced
Yeah.
because they have the money and they just have money to burn.
That's right.
And they're going to improve community engagement, ladies and gentlemen. New Hope
good.
has been so 2007 on this. They are getting into community engagement. We're going to launch Nextdoor.com for New Hope, which, by the way, is free.
Yes.
So why that's a cost to the budget? They're going to improve their Facebook page. Oh, isn't that great? Oh, and
Hey, I did that today. You know how much it cost me?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's right. We've had a Community Solutions Facebook page for 3 years.
Yeah.
How much have we paid for it?
Zero.
So why that's part of the budget, is beyond me. I don't understand why that. That's just another feel good thing. Again, it's the employees don't have enough to do. They have to invent ways to spend your money so they don't have to give it back to you.
Well, if I could go back, speaking of inventing ways to spend money, so they want to hire an assistant community development guy, right? And they did state why they wanted to do that.
Right.
It was because of the increased workload of redevelopment projects that the city has. So we're talking the city center, New Hope Golf Course, all the high density housing you can handle, and then some.
Right. There's an apartment building they want to put up on 62nd by the Superamerica there on 62nd and West Broadway. You mentioned the New Hope Golf Course. And it's amazing they don't want to keep it green space.
Yeah.
They don't want to keep it green space? I thought we needed, green. But, it all will be high density, and I'll tell you why. It's so they can carve it up, smaller chunks, tax every blade of grass, and then take that money and spend it. And to add to that, and I'm going off subject here, but they had a little public hearing, if you will, about the apartments on 62nd and West Broadway. And I'm telling you, there wasn't one resident happy about it who lives over there. They don't want it.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. 100% right, nobody does. And one of their council people, Dan Stahner, made some interesting comments.
Yes, he did.
Mr. Stahner, I will give Mr. Stahner credit for telling the truth. And then he told the biggest lie I've ever heard. He really should have a nun paddle him for what he said after this. Now, I'll give Stahner props for being honest to start with.
Yeah.
He told the truth, and then he told a lie. Now, stick with me on this. Okay, and
that's a game, right? 2 truths and a lie.
Well,
right?
I think it's
you're supposed
one
to
lie,
guess which one is.
It's 1 truth and 2 lies.
Okay.
Use this as government. We're
All
talking
right,
about.
all right.
Now Steiner, because everybody was complaining about the high density, and Steiner finally, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. And of course, the Sun Post did an article on this and interestingly omitted Steiner's actual quotes here, which you will find very soon on communitysolutionsmn.wordpress.com, because I will do the journalism that they didn't do. But they basically Steiner says, look, high density is where we're going. That's what we're doing. That's what is going to happen. Period. And he and which, to be honest with you, he admitted the truth.
Yeah.
That's what they're pushing.
Yep.
And I was almost as mad as I was at it. Councils always deny that they're trying to do that.
Yeah.
And he, quite frankly, just said, you know what, high density, that's Winnetka Green type things. I don't know who's desiring that. I still have not met a person who wants that, but that's where we're headed. Then he tried to claim, this is the lie, that forces beyond their control are causing it. That it's not up to the city. We can't keep the city the way it always was, blah, 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 blah. Now, again, I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. Now, Jason, let me ask you something. Mm-hmm. The council has no control over it. Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Who hands out building permits? Who buys land and has no limit to what they can buy and redevelop? Who has a housing authority? Who has a comprehensive plan? Who's in charge of land use? Who's in charge of zoning?
That would be a city.
Yes. So you are telling me that even though you control every licensing, every aspect of that, city code, you have no control over what housing is somewhere.
Here, I want to do a little role playing, if that's all right.
Sure.
All right. You pretend that you're like the Hennepin County Commissioners Board,
I'm really going to have to pretend hard.
Yeah, I know.
I got to be a good actor.
Or the Met Council, okay?
Oh,
you pick one. I don't care.
Okay.
And I'll be the city of New Hope. And you ask me to build high density housing next to one of the projects here.
Right.
All right.
Oh, you want me to ask you?
Yeah. Come on.
City of New Hope, hello, I'm the Met Council.
Hi.
And as you know, I have authority over you if you don't do what I want you to do. But we're going to, will you please build some see this right by the golf course there where you have green space?
Oh, yeah. I see that.
Would you please build some high density housing there?
No. You see how that worked? It was really simple. That's how you do it, cities. You grow some teeth.
Wait a minute. We'll give you some grant transit for livable communities.
Oh, okay. No, wait. No. That's not.
We're going to connect you to a bus route to Swahili. That we're connecting now. You sure you don't want it? You don't want our free money?
Watch this. No. See, that's how simple it is. It's called having a spine or living by your convictions.
Well, it's also the drawback, and we've said this a million times, we're going to keep saying it. It's the drawback of regional planning, of grant money, of cities who they want to do whatever they can to increase their own revenue and get something that, if they're not paying for it, it's free.
Right.
And that attitude has got to change. And we've got, maybe 5 people on New Hope City Council that have to go. Just a guess. Before we change that attitude.
That's pretty close.
I mean,
5,
like I said,
give or take.
Yeah.
0.
Like I said, they wouldn't know a good idea if it ran them over. And I think you look at their budget and what they're doing with housing. If I'm in New Hope, I'm at the council meeting screaming at them so much.
Yeah.
They'd get out of that council chamber so fast that their shorts would have to take another car home. I mean, that's how bad they would go crazy.
Do you know that golf course? Is it owned by New Hope?
Yes.
I thought it was a municipal golf course, and that makes total sense to me because when you have a city managing something, they do a really poor job because they're not a business and they're not usually business owners. And so what would make you want to golf more than putting up high density housing, an apartment building right next to your golf course.
Yeah, and not to mention, they've got the St. Therese senior building.
Yeah.
They've got apartments across the street. They've
Yeah.
got Northridge on
Yeah.
Boone and Bass Lake Road.
Yeah.
They've got the Winnetka Green area. They've got what they're putting up after we tear down the Winnetka Learning Center,
Yeah.
which is going to be townhomes. How much more can you cram in that area? I mean, can you imagine the traffic and that light at Winnetka and Bass Lake Road, which already sucks?
Yeah.
I mean, they built the CVS right there in that corner. I mean, what more can be stuffed?
And my whole point is, if you think you're going to keep a golf course open and people are going to want to golf there when it looks like they're golfing in the middle of Mogadishu or something, or Tokyo, or pick some big city. Most of our Minnesota golfers like to go to a beautiful course with nice greens, a nice view, and you're piling things. Who wants to go to Hazeltine and
Golf
shoot
around
at an apartment building? It's not what they do. They'll put up home developments, single family homes with nice homes sometimes around a golf course, but an apartment building, and how many times is that apartment building going to get hit? I mean, in close quarters like that, and you're going to have to pay for windows.
The
being
more
cracked
people
and
you
it's
have,
just-
the more likely something is to happen.
you just can't shoehorn things in like that.
Well,
And that's what they're doing. They're taking a crowbar
and Stonner let it out. The decision's already made. I mean, if you think this city is going to objectively look at something, if you think they're going to seek out, multiple things, Stonner also admitted that the city center is going to be high density housing too.
Yeah.
Just said, there's going to be high density housing.
Yeah.
Period.
And that's in their plans. You can find it on the New Hope City website.
Yeah. So they're almost. I almost, in a way, admire his honesty, and in a way, I want to, just slap him upside the head, figuratively, of course.
Just remember, we are in an election year, and he says that we cannot choose. This path has been chosen for us. Prove him wrong by electing somebody else who doesn't believe that way.
Yeah, I mean, New Hope's giving any candidate who wants to run, you've got plenty of material
Yep.
in the city of New Hope. Now, I think we nailed it all.
Okay.
Pretty much in New Hope.
So you want me to go on to the next
Golden
nugget of good
Valley.
news?
Doesn't get any better, my friends.
All right.
All right, little computer malfunction. Now we got up Golden Valley. Now, Golden Valley. I'll tell you, I have to take a breath because I'm wondering where to start.
Well, it's like they say, what do you give somebody who has it all? They've definitely got a lot to draw from down there. So there's no end to their resources, right?
Of course not.
I mean, you've gone through and that wealthy DFL neighborhood down there, right?
Which one?
Well, those houses over on, if you take Glenwood towards Minneapolis, are pretty big.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're all too happy to pay.
Yeah, here's again some highlights from Golden Valley's budget. Now, Golden Valley, the city. Now we'll just throw out some numbers here, so just bear with us. Was getting no local government aid in 2013. 2014, they're getting $219,290. So, of course, you'd think maybe, 50 cents of that, 75 cents of that, 10 cents of that would go back to the taxpayers. Guess how much is going back?
Same as before, zero.
Zero. Once again, zero. So, again, remember we were told by our heroes in the legislature that if we just pay $49 for a pack of cigarettes, it'll somehow come back to us in property tax relief, and that's become a total, complete lie. And and again, LGA is there to make sure government's big, make sure government employees are taken care of. Now, tell me where do you think they got this from? They're adding another traffic cop. Oh, what city did they just copy? Oh, New Hope. $67,000 to add one traffic cop. That guy. I mean, okay, I don't know if this is Barney Fife, Roscoe Coltrane,
Yeah.
or what it is, but of course, I'm sure that once again they'll be handing out lots of citations, making you feel safe. You know, drunk driver will whiz by while they write up somebody for parking on the street at night,
Yeah.
like they do in Crystal. 1.5 full-time and more employees. Almost $128,000 cost, which includes a code inspector that's going to go around houses enforcing the city code.
Oh, good. Another person to look under every shrub and look at
Yeah.
every fence. And
Absolutely. You don't have a Fourth Amendment right.
are you growing carrots in your front yard?
Yeah, that's I bet once they find that out, they're going to double the fine
Probably.
for doing that, figuring they can get more money.
Yeah, they won't charge the fines first. They'll go find what the fines are, double the fines,
Yeah.
and then they'll go charge it.
How do you like this? The Park and Rec Department is adding $82,000.
Well, I'm sure that they've got a lot of work to do. I mean, how many dog parks are in Golden Valley? They got to do some conversion,
I don't know. They got no hockey rink, no pool, no.
create some greenways in between their city parks, maybe, or
That's right. They got to connect all the sidewalks
Yeah.
from park to park. And
Yeah.
what. That's certainly an essential government service.
Yeah.
And overall, the property taxes will increase $314,000, or 2.57%. Of course, you can find this once again on communitysolutions.wordpress.com. Not promoting ourselves here, but it really, to be honest with you, my friends, this is what really angers me about Golden Valley. We're listening to the comments of the council. Now, one thing you're going to hear when you go to these budgets, and like I said, it's not a broken record, it's a broken Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, is about how hard they worked and how many questions they asked. As if there's first of all, working hard is about a minimum requirement of a council person or a government employee. I don't, to say you worked hard is, I work hard, okay?
Yeah.
It's, I that is just irrelevant. To say you ask questions, well, you're spending other people's money. I mean, don't you think it's important that you ask where that's going and what it's for? I mean, I just, it's really frustrating to listen to. Now, we're going to start our quotes here. Councilperson Dee Dee Scanlon, who is leaving, she's not there anymore, was the first person to speak. I watched this on chat. By the way, Northwest Community TV does have a website where they have all the 9 cities in the Northwest Metro, and so you can watch these meetings. First thing she did was she talked about the incredible amount of time with this budget. Yes. It was time away from their rain garden and their, watching football and whatever else they were doing.
It was incredible time, but I doubt they put in a lot of overtime. I'm sure it was already in scheduled work sessions that they'd have had, no matter what they were talking about.
I'm sure that's true, but remember, that's still a lot of time.
Shouldn't they, with something that important, put in a lot of time?
I would guess. And if they don't want to put a lot of time, they can resign.
Yeah.
Scanlon went on to say, we keep looking that if we lower taxes, what services we would cut. Well, let me ask you a question, Ms. Scanlon. What have you cut? I mean, name something you've cut. So if you've cut nothing, then what are you looking at?
The only thing I can recall that they cut was their promise to not let light rail go through Theodore Worth Park.
Yeah, that's gone.
Yeah.
And then another thing you'll hear constantly is, well, we understand how frustrated you are.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, but here's the thing: a city council is not a psychiatrist. We don't need anyone to understand or feel sorry. We need you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to a council meeting to get there like I just stubbed my knee on the ground of outside. I mean,
Right.
That's not what we're looking for here. Now, I want to go on to the next guy. Steve Schmeidgall.
My favorite.
Your guy, Mr. Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Oh, you can't say that because I'm offended.
And I got to congratulate Golden Valley. They spent more time talking about what they took an entire work session on whether or not they should say the Pledge of Allegiance. They took about 5 minutes on their comprehensive annual financial report, which beats Crystal. I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, talk about the priorities being off. Mr. Schmeigel went on to say, or Schmidgall, or however the hell you say it, we've been frugal and conservative. We're trying to maintain a high level of service without increasing taxes. Well, again,
but they did increase them.
Yeah, that's so frustrating to listen to because, again, if that's the goal, if the goal is to keep everything and cut nothing, well, at some point, everything costs more.
Yeah.
So, again, where's the hard decision there?
Yeah, I mean, he talked about making tough choices too.
Talked about it,
but when what's the tough choice? Should we spend $300,000 in new money we didn't spend before, or $500,000?
Yeah,
is that your tough choice?
Well, that's like me. I want to buy a boat. Okay, that's what I want. I want to buy a boat personally. I can't afford a boat right now. So is not buying a boat that I can't afford a tough choice?
No.
I mean, it's not a tough choice at all. So, I mean, of course, I need a new car because I can't tow it. But, how is not spending money you don't have a difficult decision?
Well, they've got it now. They raised taxes.
Oh, okay. Oh.
But, I mean, think about that. I mean, they raised taxes over $300,000. They got LGA of over $200,000. That's over $500,000, or $500,000 in new money coming in that you created ways to spend it before it even hit the ground. Well, it's gone.
Like we've said, if you give them 50 cents, they spend $1.75.
Yeah.
I mean, the plans they've got plans. Paula Pentel let something out too that I did not quote on our blog, but she went on and on about how Golden Valley is conservative because they don't have a hockey rink or a municipal pool. They could build those things, but they don't have them. Well, let me ask again. Why does every city need a hockey rink and a pool and a dog park? And I mean, are those things needs?
No, and a lot of people in Golden Valley some of them go to 281 that has their own. Some go to the Hopkins School District, which have their own.
Plymouth has their own.
Yeah.
Minneapolis has how many rinks?
Yeah.
I mean, Brooklyn Center has their own rink. I mean, why is that? And a pool is a drain on city funds. I mean, City of Crystal, we can't even make money selling concessions. I mean, it's that bad. So you should congratulate yourself if you don't have a pool. That's a positive. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying every pool's bad. I'm not saying it's stupid to have it. Not saying we should close it down. I'm saying when you tell me that you're frugal, that you don't waste 1 cent, okay, then you can't give me the line that, well, we don't have a pool, so therefore we're conservative.
I'm frugal because I don't have gold faucets.
Yeah, no kidding. I haven't bought new underwear in 10 years. Okay, I'm frugal. So that's a joke. That's a joke. So
I can vouch for him. He doesn't smell over here. Not too bad, anyways.
Well, my arms are down. So now, I'll tell you what, though. The council members are pretty bad.
Yeah.
But we got one person in Golden Valley with his Superman cape who takes the cake, I think.
Boy Wonder?
Boy Wonder takes the cake. I don't even know if I want to quote the mayor. It's
you do have a special mayor there in Golden Valley.
We do. I mean, we've got somebody who I don't even know if I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. It's we'll let Mayor Harris's quotes speak for themselves.
Good idea.
First quote that the mayor said was that he weighed heavily whether he was going to vote for or against this budget. Do you believe that?
Well, maybe he thought about it after eating like a chocolate cake or eating a pound of bacon.
Yeah.
So maybe he weighed heavily
Yeah.
after considering this.
That could be. Depends what he ate last. But, the mayor, I don't believe for a minute that, he was going to do that. But he said that he's been in this job for 2 years. And he thinks he's growing more fiscally conservative. Now, let me ask you something. When you presented a budget that adds government workers, increases taxes, increases spending, what about that is conservative? Yeah, see, we're scratching our heads again.
Yeah.
But he's growing more conservative by doing so.
It could be. It depends what measuring system he's using. It's probably metric.
Well, yeah. Maybe he's using the metric, but he's actually measuring in inches or something.
Maybe.
And getting a little confused.
Yeah.
Mr. Harris also talked about how he asked the most questions. Once again, there's a prize for answering the most. He got a new Wonder Woman suit or something for asking the most questions.
Yeah?
I mean,
blue ribbons. Maybe that's what they hand out.
what is that? I asked the most questions. Well, zippity doo dah.
What'd you do about it?
Yeah, I know. Hey, excuse me. Are you going to spend it on that or that? Oh, okay. No, wait. Are you going to spend it on that or that? Okay. Oh, well.
Do you think we're spending enough?
Yeah. Congratulations. You asked the most questions. Now, next up is your favorite. This is your favorite quote.
It is. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to let you read the favorite quote that
right.
you have.
The way I look at this budget, it's like a dose of cough syrup. Because it tasted bad, but it did good for you. Let me say this. When you're addicted to spending, there are two kinds of people that drink cough syrup. People who are sick with a cold or winos. And if you're addicted to something like wine or spending and you're taking more of what ails you, it's not good for you.
Yeah. And by the way, it does taste good, okay? I used to like taking cough syrup. So I disagree that it tastes bad. That children's Tylenol tasted like garbage. But now, here's another thing. Mr. Harris talked about, first off, he talks about how they're innovating in Gold Valley. Let me tell you something, folks. I can't think of a single thing government has innovated in the history of Western civilization. Government is the exact opposite of innovating. See, innovating is a new idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new thing, a new way to do something, a new invention. I can't think of, other than inventing new ways to spend my money, what innovations ever come from good? The light bulb come from the government?
No.
Did the car come from the government?
No.
Did the TV come from government? So government doesn't innovate.
What about light rail?
Oh, well.
Oh, wait, they had trains back in the 1900s.
They were not run by government, were they?
No, they were not at that time. And then government got involved and they went bankrupt.
That's right.
Huh.
Yeah, see Amtrak.
Wow.
But he talked about this housing inspector that is going to go around inspecting homes.
That's
right.
Inspector.
Yeah. Go gadget inspector. We feel it's important to the vitality of our community to put that back in. See, they cut that out during the recession, but of course now that we're back down to 3% unemployment, I guess that's a green light for government to start spending again. So he thinks that's a pro in this budget. It's a pro in the budget. Your Fourth Amendment rights be damned. The city can pound on your door, fine you for whatever they want.
Yep.
That's how I'm reading this.
Yes.
Now, look, there is something to the vitality of the city looking better. But to me, a lot of people whose homes are not in great shape might be somebody who's lost their job.
Yeah.
And maybe they can't afford to upgrade something right now. And if you add a fine or a fee on them, isn't that going to make things worse? It could put them in foreclosure.
Yeah.
So,
but they're not too concerned about that as long as they get their money and squeeze it out of that, and then the property can sit dormant and not collect taxes.
Right, and you know what else they could do? The EDA could buy it, tear it down, and maybe that's part of this too, is they want to tear down some houses.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them.
I would
They're
either.
building a lot of homes over there right
Yeah.
now in that really rich neighborhood.
One size fits all house that gets dropped everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, here's another kicker from Mayor Harris. Do it for the children. It's all about the children. You know, I think District 281 ought to hire Mayor Harris as a propagandist for their upcoming referendum. They're doing something in Golden Valley called the Parks Revival, or that's Harris's term for it. I call it the Parks Revival. I'm quoting the mayor. 5 new playgrounds that are going to be coming out. Those playgrounds are tired. They're old. They're dangerous for our children. If we got to pay 2.9% more in taxes for the safety of our kids, I believe it's important. Boy, I've never heard the children before being used as a pawn in increasing taxes before. So
Let me just try and think this out in my head. 3% of 300,000. I mean, that's a lot of money for 5 parks. You know what I'm saying?
well, don't hurt yourself doing math here. I mean,
Well, it's like $9,000, right?
that's the Parks Revival.
That's- Yeah.
We got to do it for the children. I mean, or else we can't.
5 parks. It's
Yep. And in Golden Valley is either watching New Hope or New Hope's watching Golden Valley. What do you think the budget passed by with the 5 members of the Golden Valley City Council?
5-0.
5-0.
Oh, I'm getting good at this.
Oh, we got dissent everywhere. We've got, rest assured, folks, in those cities, you are being represented. I mean, they all reached a consensus, all voted for it. You got to speak the night they voted. I mean, you can't have a better city council in Golden Valley. How do you improve? How could Andy Snope and Larry Fonest improve on this city council?
I don't think they can. I mean, unless they were going to
And I'll tell you,
put like red flags with gold stars
Oh.
in the city council chambers.
that's possible. And I'll tell you what, Golden
Interior
Valley.
decorating.
I'll tell you what, Golden Valley. You want to cut spending? Okay, let me tell you the first thing you ought to do. Get to even year elections.
No kidding.
Do you know it's over $50,000 it costs to have an odd year election?
Yes.
So why are they
Absolutely
doing
does.
that? We've got 2 new council people that were elected with about 1,000 votes in a city of 22,000 people. How do those 2 council people even think they represent Golden Valley?
It's sad.
It's pathetic. Golden Valley should be ashamed of their voter turnout. They ought to stick their heads in the sand.
I'd like to know how many of those 1,000 people didn't work for a union.
Yeah, I don't know, 6 maybe.
Yeah.
It was, the
What,
election.
AFSCME,
Election was bought, and the electricians union,
Yeah.
the IBW or something, whatever they were, but it totally. I mean, an odd year election is the biggest waste of money you could possibly have. I mean, why not? And they have to do elections in even years anyway.
Yeah.
Because
that's why 281 switched. And
That's-
as much as they love to spend money, they still switch.
Yeah, I mean, it took them. They could have done it 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
But they finally did it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they have odd year. There's other cities too. I know Hopkins is still on odd years, and their school district's still on odd years. It's just an expense that is such a waste. And you could have paid for your traffic cop by going to even year elections. That's how quick they could have done it.
Yeah.
So, even though I know we're stuck with Snope and Finest and whoever else, Joanne Clausen, whoever else is on this council, that's a price I'm willing to pay to get rid of that expense. All right.
Well,
I know we're going way over on time, folks, but this is important stuff. And
It
I mean,
is.
there's nobody who could talk for hours on budgets like we can.
no.
So this is important stuff. We got to run through Robbinsdale.
But don't worry, we're not going for hours.
Yeah, no.
We'll end sometime this hour. I promise. It will not get to a second hour.
Yeah, I'll be cut off before we go on.
We don't
to the
have too
second.
many more cities to go, do we? We've got through most of them.
Yeah, well, Robbinsdale we have to touch on.
Yeah.
And we'll run through the numbers quick. I mean, a 4.6% increase in spending.
Yeah.
Despite a $448,000 increase in LGA. So basically, what they got in LGA, they turned around and spent.
Uh-huh.
Now, they did decrease the levy very slightly, but we've got some tremendous innovations coming to the city of Robbinsdale. I mean,
Oh, so they created some things?
oh, I mean, you think this is? I mean, you think they're wasting your money in Robbinsdale? Absolutely
Yes.
not. Oh no.
I would
Listen,
be wrong then.
listen to this necessary government.
Okay.
Now, when we think of necessary government, we think of police and fire. We think of
road
roads.
maintenance, yeah,
we
yeah,
know that's essential city functions.
Okay.
Listen to this: a new city website.
Ooh.
I mean, their website is not very good, but you could do a new city website for a couple $100 if you go to GoDaddy.
Yeah.
Really shouldn't cost much to do a new city website. Tree replacement. I don't know where the
Cherry
trees.
trees?
I don't know where the trees are gone. I don't know what was torn down, but they're going to replace them.
Good.
Here's one I need some more information on: summer code enforcement.
Is that like if your legs are really white, you should wear pants?
you get free sunscreen before you go out? I don't know what that is, but everybody's got a bike helmet. You got me. Summer code enforcement, so I have no idea. And one thing they do too, they don't break down what these things cost. I mean, I don't know what they're talking. If this is a Golden Valley type thing, or what?
No, again, it's just more enforcement.
Yeah, it's,
And that's all that they're turning to, these cities. We need more enforcement. We need to snoop more. I mean, I'd like to know, and this is a question I've had for a while and haven't looked into it yet. We've got a couple of intersections here in Crystal. One's close to Robbinsdale there, I know. The other one is Bass Lake Road and, what's across the street there? Regent, where they have cameras up on top of the traffic signals. Why do you need that?
They've got it on 47th and Douglas.
Yes, 42nd and Douglas, and then there's another one out on Broadway.
I don't know.
Why do you need that?
I don't know if that's
What are you
is that
looking
the
for?
county doing that. I don't know either.
Who are you looking for?
The only thing I can think of is it's just a way to try to find little petty crimes from otherwise law-abiding citizens
Yeah.
that they can just mail you a ticket for.
I'll try to have more on that later. But
We got a good one.
speaking of enforcement, a second license plate reader for Robbinsdale. Is that like somebody who like reads them before they send them out from the DMV and make sure they're legible, or?
No, I think it's. I took you seriously there for a second. No, that is a way to. You're parked somewhere, and somebody just comes by and shoots your car, and
it gives them a whole history on you.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting there doing nothing wrong, and they.
This guy's got an unpaid parking ticket.
Yeah, this guy got a DWI 10 years ago, so I better follow him home.
Yeah.
It's
You're never out from under anything you've done in the past.
there's
anymore.
no privacy anywhere. Another thing, boy, this is really expensive, isn't it?
Software updates,
Yeah,
sure.
Oh,
I mean, like if you wanted to go to Best Buy, and get like Quicken 2014, or
yeah. You want to upgrade from Tim Geithner's TurboTax to the next one? Yeah, boy, that's costs hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Software is cheaper than it's ever been.
Yep.
It's more. You can download it by pressing 5 buttons. That shouldn't be a huge expense, but of course, you know where most of it's going. Pockets of employees. I mean, that's just where it's going. Again, like Golden Valley, my friends, the things the council people said just give you a good window into what there really are, what's really wrong.
Yeah.
What's going on. I mean, if you really think about it, start with Dan Rogan.
Is that the UFC guy?
I don't think he doesn't look like it. No.
Fear Factor,
Yo,
right?
No.
Because that guy's ripped. I like him.
It's not him.
Oh.
Mr. Rogan was just unapologetic in saying Robbinsdale has no responsibility for any tax increases. I mean, you know, when you have a council member who says that, you know you have somebody sitting in office that's totally unqualified to be there.
Oh, I would agree. They are very irresponsible.
No, that's true. Mr. Rogan was just slobbering all over himself about thanking the governor and the legislature for more free money, even though all of it, of course, got spent. I'm going to quote him directly here. It's a chance for us to say thank you to the governor, thank you to the legislature for having the ability and the wherewithal to come up with revenue in ways that aren't on the backs of property taxpayers through increased income taxes and other ways to raise money. So this is an opportunity to say thank you to the governor and thank you to the legislature.
Where do you think the money comes from?
Yeah, don't you know? I love this. Raise money, as if they held a fundraiser for kids with cancer.
Sale.
Yeah. That was the old the Kids for Clinton, the bake sales to pay off the debt.
Yeah.
I mean, property tax owners through increased income taxes. So again, I got an income tax increase, sent it to the state, got sent back to the city, and the city spent it.
Yeah.
So I should be thanking the governor for that, what we all call merry-go-round of money.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
I'd like to know how much of my money stopped at each stop with the...
You'll never figure that out. And, of course, we can count on George Selman to make a stupid statement. One of the things that our governor and a lot of other governors, about 5 of them probably, I don't think the governor of Wisconsin's looking at this.
No.
I don't think the governor of Indiana's looking at this. But Selman and his buddies are fighting for is to apply sales tax on Internet purchases. So as you have the opportunity to support those governors in that effort, please take it. So, first off, sales taxes are a regressive tax. We keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. That disproportionately hits lower income people harder. But the idea that we have one thing that we can... I mean, we have 3 things in Minnesota we can buy that a sales tax doesn't apply to. Internet,
right?
Food at grocery stores, and clothing.
Yeah.
And they're all under assault right now.
Yes.
So we're pretty soon, breathing and passing gas will be the only 2 things not taxed.
Don't count on that.
Yeah, that's true. The pollution. Yeah, you gotta, So
all that carbon.
So here you have and let me ask you something. I mean, we have states that have no income tax.
Yep.
We have states that have no sales tax.
Uh-huh.
How are they surviving?
And let me just say, for the record, that some of those states with no income tax have a lot better roads than our state has. How is that possible? I mean, places like South Dakota.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because they're not spending it on transit. That's the big thing.
There you go.
It's not being diverted into something else. I would agree that there are states that are better. And when you talk about something like education, a big state expense, well, look at the states that have voucher systems or have more choice in schools or aren't as or right to work. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a big drop in the spending.
Yeah.
And basically, really, Pat Becken and Mayor Murphy were the only 2 who didn't, who didn't need a cold towel thrown on them to not praise the governor and the legislature.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Robbinsdale just pretty much more of the same. Now their levy didn't go up.
No.
But their spending did not go down. And I think that's a critical thing because what happens if LGA gets cut in the future or stays the same? Right? Which it's gone up and down over the years. What's going to happen then to all that new spending? Once you upgrade the website and the software, are they going to just cut that money? Or is it going to be spent on something else?
It's going to get spent somewhere else. It always does.
Yeah, so how are we in a better financial position then?
Yeah, we're not.
It's just pure fiction from these councils. Now, we've been on the air a while. Do you want to touch on Brooklyn Park?
We'd better.
Yeah.
I guess it's
I
it's
don't
like
know.
the
I don't know where it went. On
eat
the
your
computer.
last bite of peas.
Yeah.
It's that deal.
Well, I'll say I did like one thing about Brooklyn Park.
Yeah.
We actually saw some dissent on city council,
Well, that's good.
which I have not seen. To search Brooklyn Park, it's in there some. We're looking it up on the computer. A brilliant posting on it. And you can find more at communitysolutionsmn.wordpress.com.
That's right.
But how do you like this for Brooklyn Park? Now, Brooklyn Park is a much bigger city, about 65, 70,000
Yep,
residents.
that's right about where it's at.
It's quite a bit bigger city, but their overall expenditures increased by $1.9 million.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're bigger. I mean, they're already collecting enough for that 65, 70,000 people. So an increase is still an increase.
Yeah, it is some highlights.
Or lowlights.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to call it that. Our favorite, another one of our favorite mayors, Mr. Jeff Lundy, Democrat, Brooklyn Park. His main goal was to boost the communications department. Now, again, this is a city with money looking for a place to spend.
Yes.
They are adding 2 part-time employees to relieve the communications burden from the police department. Now, folks, 3 people in the police department communications. 3.
Well, might be a lot of crime they need to write about.
Right? I mean, it's I don't get it. And this is a city that's in bed with more companies. They are just totally. There were 2 votes against this. Bob Maida and John Jordan voted no. But Brooklyn Park hands out our tax dollars like Halloween candy.
Yeah.
They've given it to Target. Now Olympus Surgical Technologies and you can't find any documents knowing what the taxpayers are on the hook for. And let me tell you something, a public-private partnership is not capitalism.
No.
Capitalism, a company is based on a good, a service, who's the best for it. A public-private partnership's all about who you know. And who you can get to give you something. You're connected to low people in high places. In Minnesota, the state of Minnesota gave this company a $1 million forgivable loan.
Forgivable, so I'm not going to pay it.
Yeah, how come nobody gives you a forgivable home loan or car loan?
Yeah.
Where's the governor giving out those to the middle class, the poor, the people who are struggling to get by? That he, even though he's never worked a day in his life, he supposedly represents.
Did you see how uncomfortable he looked holding that shovel for the Vikings groundbreaking? It was
Yeah.
like, first time holding a shovel there, Gov?
Oh yeah, it looked like Obama bowling is what it looked like. It was just unbelievable. And the governor also, and I don't want to make this about the governor, but he talked about the financial incentives that were offered. Really, what happened to the corporations paying their fair share? Whatever happened to that?
Yeah.
I guess that's gone too.
It is if they're big. If it's your small mom and pop places, or it's not trendy and cool.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, what's Brooklyn Park doing for those businesses?
Yeah.
I mean, what about the pizza parlor or the whatever candy store down the road who's a sole proprietorship and they're getting their taxes raised, their water bills raised?
Yeah.
Where are you, Mayor Lundy? You two off running with Mike Opat? You guys running down the railroad tracks on 610 there? I mean, where are you for them? And by the way, Target, okay, now I like Target, okay? I don't want to make Target to be the bad guy. But when they built that campus in Brooklyn Park, you know how many Brooklyn Park residents they hired for that?
0?
None. They
Yeah.
were all transferred from somewhere else. You tell me, Mr. Mayor, how that benefits Brooklyn Park.
Well, people can get to work in Brooklyn Park easier if they work at Target.
Maybe you'll eat lunch on the way home. I don't know.
Right? You'll stop and walk the 8 blocks to Fleet Farm or Menards or whatever.
Right, but I mean that can't outweigh the subsidies given to these places, and if you're going to give out taxpayer dollars, you have an obligation to do more than give us rhetoric about how you're allegedly creating jobs when you're really just transferring them from one place to another. I'm tired of talking about. I don't want to talk about Brooklyn Park anymore. It's going to make me angry and depressed. I mean, I think people are getting the picture on these budgets, and what I would stress to everybody, you've got to stay on top of this. You've got to talk to your council before they start the process.
It's true. I mean, it's a year-round deal. You can't sit on your haunches for 11 months and then hope to change anything in the 12th. And we're at a point now. I mean, we really are. I know in Crystal we're at a tipping point, and I see us in other communities getting to that place where people are starting to recognize that something's wrong and they're not getting what they need from their city governments. They're getting a lot of rhetoric. They're getting a lot of, hey, here's what we're doing and you're just going to have to deal with it.
Here's the way we've always done it.
Yeah. Here's what our, redevelopment plan says. Here's what our budget says. Sorry. And there has to come a time when you're just sick and tired of it enough to want to do something about it. And we're moving into an election year. And we not only have a chance to spend less, but change the way that we budget. I mean, right now, when people budget, the government says, all right, to the finance department or to the parks and rec department or whatever, hey, give us your budget, and they all start with what they spent last year and then figure out what else they want to buy. We need to start at zero every year and build in exactly what you need, not 1 cent more for that year.
Right. To zero-based budgeting away from baseline budgeting. And I would say first, too, that when the departments come, some departments are more important than others.
Yes.
I mean, if I'm looking at a city, police and fire, roads, water and sewer, as much as I don't think we should have to be on that as a city. You should be able to use your own wells if you'd like.
Yeah.
Those things come ahead of, replacing a slide at the park. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But they do. Those things come ahead of an upgrade to the dog park or the city's Facebook page or, upgrading somebody's computer. I mean, the point is that we've got to say no to some things. Like you mentioned with our little role playing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not willing to say no, then you're really not making a choice. You're really not making a decision that is going to change your city. You just aren't.
No, and you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten. So you have a decision to make this year. Are you going to stand up and get involved or let another year pass, another 2 years pass, and how many more high-density housing projects are there going to be? How many more roads are going to get restriped from 4 to 2? How many more bike lanes? How many more dollars in property taxes are you willing to pay? What is your number? Have you figured that out, or is you just going to shrug your shoulders every 2 years and go, well, they did it again?
You can't fight City Hall. No.
You can fight City Hall, and you can win.
Ha! We know that, don't we?
We do. Had a little bit of practice.
Yeah. That's right. I had to sleep on my stomach because of all the stabs in the back I was getting from the city. So, well, I think we've made our point here, and we've gone on for about 5 minutes. I'm about 5 minutes here on city budgets, and I know this is information overload, my friends, and I understand that. But it's important that this stuff gets broken down, and the propaganda that comes from your city, because your city's not going to tell you anything they don't want you to hear. And it's important that we take the time on shows like this and explain this in detail. I mean, I could go on about Crystal's budget for another 3 hours if I really wanted to. So get to your city website. It's not easy to find in some cities. Look through their budget, look through their CAFR, look through their comprehensive plan, look through their EDA, and educate yourself on what's coming next so you're not blindsided at a council meeting. You don't all of a sudden come to a council meeting and go, hey, well, when are we doing that? Well, it's been in our comprehensive plan for 5 years. Well, we have an obligation to be informed. So
We do. And so with that, we will turn this back over to you guys so that you have an opportunity to actually go look at your city's website and research some of this stuff. And sit and think a little bit. What am I willing to do to change this? Am I willing to help a candidate get elected? Am I willing to run for something myself? It's going to take everybody doing their part because, frankly, there's been enough just sitting on hands. And I know there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast, that read our blog, that agree with the way that we see the world. And I'm going to say this as least offensively as possible, that if your point of view is, I don't deserve a free ride, I need to work hard, and I need to not take advantage of people, then why are you letting everybody else pull the wagon? Get up out of your chairs, do something.
That's a good point, because I have a lot of people who tell me, you guys need to look into this and look into that. Well, what's wrong with you doing it?
Yeah.
Jason and I can't be everywhere. As great as we are. And I'm sitting next to the.
It's a burden.
I'm sitting next to the godfather of local government, my friends. But
I'm not that old.
Yeah, but I mean, we can't be everywhere. We can't look at every story, read everything. Believe it or not, I have a life. I know Jason does too. And this is important to us, but you need to come out of the woodworks and take some of this stuff on yourself. And I hope you will. And I think we've gone on long enough today and made our point.
Absolutely. So, to wrap up, you can read all about it at www.communitysolutionsmn.wordpress.com. You can email us with any tips that you have, or say you're a really good writer and you got a story, you want to send it to us, great. You can do that at CommSolutionsMN, that's COMM SolutionsMN at gmail.com. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. It's CommSolutions on Twitter there.
And we have a group on Facebook you can ask to join. We started with 6 people. We're up to 125. So people are finding us. So get on that. We'd love to hear from you.
And enjoy trout as we go out.